اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا ومشرب السوء الهدي يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا ومشرب السوء الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك العلم لدنيا ومشرب السوء الهني يا وهاب يا غني. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Where we at? I don't have my book with me. Let me get my book first. Alright. Okay, Bismillah. We were at which chapter last time round? My mark is where? Head Head is it? Okay. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Alright. Then dah habis kan? So what page are you on? Sila. There's only 52 based on the PDF. Hopefully not so. The lesson is, yeah, that means it's not translated all the way lah. Oh, I may ask Ustad, okay? Because we're gonna finish the PDF soon. It's already at page 47 kan? Okay, come. Let's continue. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Faslan. So Faslan أقل الحيض يوم وليلة وأكثره 15 يوما بلياليها وغالبه 6 أو 7. So chapter menstruation is at least a day and a night, 24 hours, right? So 24 hours of flow altogether, and maximum it is 15 days, and with its nights, 15 nights altogether. So here we know that it is to the exact moment, right? So from where it came to where it ends, exactly 15 days to the hour, to the minute, right, or to the second life, when you calculate all the way to that point. Right? In the most cases, most people's menstruation period is 6 days or 7 days. All right. So menses, it is a proof of a woman's health. Right? So if someone who gets regular menses every month, that is the sign of a person's health, with the exception of Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra. For her, she was someone who was pure, which is why she didn't get any menses at all, right, in her lifetime. There is a more of a karamat. Karama for Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra, right, she didn't get any menses. For other women, getting menses is actually a form of health. It's a sign of a person's health, that when her menses stops coming, and not because of pregnancy, but because of whatever stressful reasons or whatsoever, or like weight gain or weight loss, and so on, then these are all signs that she is unhealthy. She's coming into it. She's falling short in her health, right? MashaAllah. Okay, and it's mentioned also, like when with Nabi Ibrahim's wife, when the angels came with the good news of a son, right? And she said that she laughed, right? As in Sarah, she laughed when she got the good news of a son. She laughed because she was 100 years old at that time, and she said, and she laughed because how could she have a child? And when she laughed, it was said when she laughed, she got her menses for the first time. And she laughed and the menses came out, right? For the first time she got her menses. Allahu a'lam. All right. So for menses, again, lughatan shar'an, right? Make sure you know the lughatan and shar'an, the language, the linguistic meaning of menses, and the sharia meaning of menses. I'm going to read out. the linguistic meaning of menses is flow or flood. Alright, الحيض لغة السيلان, which is flow, right? Flow or flood. شرعا, by the Sharia, it is a natural blood that comes out from the furthest part of the womb of a woman in the way of health during specific times without a cause. Okay, Ken? Do you get the definition? It is a natural blood, dam jibillah, right? It is a natural blood that comes out from the furthest end of a woman's womb in a way of good health, right? It's a sign of good health in specific timings without a cause. Okay, without a cause. And so from this definition, you can define what blood comes out of you is menses and what is not menses. And so, like for example, if someone had an IUI device being stuck in them, an IUI to prevent pregnancy, if they had this device placed in them and then they began bleeding continuously, ever since the device was put in them, they began bleeding continuously, then we can say that the bleeding had a cause. Something caused the bleeding. And so do we call this bleeding menses? We say no. We don't call it menses because there was a cause for the bleeding. So it's not called menses, even if it's 24 hours of flow, and even if it's, whatever it may be, right? But there was a cause for it. Right? So for menstrual cycle, it's something that's cyclic without a cause. There was no injury, there was no medication involved, there was no apparatus put in, and so on. Alright, so understand the definition of things so you can understand when is it menses, when it's not menses. Alright, so the first thing is that so when it comes to menses, you have a minimum age for menses. There is no maximum age for menses. There's a minimum age, which is 6 years almost. And we went through this before, 6 years almost. Alright, so what is 6 years almost? It is basically if a girl had, sorry, 6 years almost, but 9 years. 9 years almost, right? 9 years almost, meaning that if a girl had gone through 8 years of life and she's coming towards her 9th birthday, and we're talking about Hijri, so whenever we speak about anything in Islam about calendar, automatically it is Hijri. It's never Gregorian. The Muslims only ever refer to the Hijri calendar, right? So if a woman at 9 years old or before 9 years old, she sees blood, right? You have to ask her, when is your birthday? If she says, oh, my birthday is another 3 more months, my 9th birthday is another 3 more months. So we say to her that blood that you're seeing right now, that's not menses because you're not in the age of menses. Right? So what's the age of menses? So if this is my 9th birthday, right, the age of menses starts 16 days before my 9th birthday. Okay, the age of menses starts 16 days before my 9th birthday. So if I were to get my menses at any point in time, 16 days prior to my 9th birthday, then I am counted as a woman who have come into menses. I'm a girl that has come into menses. However, if I got my menses at any time before the 16th day before my 9th birthday, if I get it here, then I will say that that blood is fasad. That blood is a blood of illness or whatsoever. However, if the blood continues through and goes past, towards the 9th birthday into a time whereby there's less than 16 days for 9th birthday, then this blood that's here, that is menses. Right, that is menses. Okay, we fulfill the conditions of 24 hours. 24 hours of flow. Yawm wa layla, 24 hours of flow all together. Okay, what does it mean by flow altogether? Does it mean that I'm constantly flowing? Is it constantly that there's something coming out of me all the time? No, that's not what's the meaning of. That's not the meaning of flow. The meaning of flow is that whenever you check, there is something there. Right. So when you change your liner, you go out, you come back, you see there's something there. You change your pad, you come out, you come back, you see there's something there. Right. So whenever you check there's something there, that means the entire time you were flowing. right? Because even if it's flowing, this like a drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, that kind of thing, it's still flowing. And sometimes it does not have to come out of you; it stays within the canal, right? Because of the flesh that's there, it stays there. Right? That is still counted as flowing. Because if you were to place a cotton on the inside and you swipe the inside and you look at the color, you will see that there is color there. There is brown, or there is other colors there. That means you're constantly flowing. For most women, this first condition, 24 hours of flow, is you will fulfill it. Don't worry, you'll fulfill it. Don't think that how long do I menses? Like, no. For most young healthy women, they will fulfill the first condition. It's only for women who are, like, for example, menopausing. So if you're menopausing, then it is possible that she does not have 24 hours of flow. She has like maybe 1-2 hours of flow, then she stops because she's menopausing. Or it could be a situation of implantation bleeding. So if someone's getting pregnant and then there's implantation in her because of the baby, the fetus implanted in her, then there's some, it can lead to some bleeding, because of the uterus wall being disturbed, right? So it can cause a bit of bleeding there, and that can come out, but it will come out only just for a while. It's just for a while, then it stops. So that's not menses. That was just for a while, then it stopped. Same thing with ovulation bleeding. So that there are different possible bleedings that can happen throughout a person's cycle. It's possible, and these things may not necessarily be menses. It could be something else. So just be very careful about it. Okay, all right. Okay, that's the minimum age for menses. It is 9 years almost. That means 16 days short of 9 years. There is no maximum age for menses, right? Okay, so taqribiyah, that means almost, right? But there is no maximum age for menses. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, the length of time of menses is 24 hours minimum, and a maximum of 15 days to the hour. So if I call my menses today at 2 p.m., then I have until, so today's what, Sunday, right? So until 2 p.m. on a Monday, 2 Mondays from now. So not tomorrow, not the following Monday, the Monday after that. All right? So that Monday until 2 p.m. that will be my 15th day to the hour. So today 2 o'clock to the next Monday. Not tomorrow, but another one and another one. I have 15 days. So 2 cycles of a 2-cycle week. 2 weeks go past and then 1 more day. That's 2 hours. That's how you can calculate very easily lah. So whatever day you get your menses, okay. For example, Thursday 5 p.m. Okay. 2 weeks, 1 more day. So Friday 5 p.m. it ends. Okay, so anything that goes beyond that is considered istihada, and if something that goes beyond that, you have to look back at your menses to see when the istihada began, because it's not that istihada can only begin on the 15th day. No, you can know that it has begun on the 15th day, yes, but istihada can possibly begin within the 15 days. It's possible. Your menses stopped maybe on the 7th day, and the istihada actually began on the 10th day. And when you look back, you can see the difference when was your menses and when was your istihada. Alright. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay. Okay, this 16 days, why 16 days? Right, is because it is the maximum cycle. Right? So also the minimum cycle. Minimum cycle is 1 day menses and 15 days clean. And there's a minimum cycle. So it's been less than the minimum cycle, right? So that the cycle goes into her 9th birthday. The cycle overlaps into the 9th birthday. Okay. Alright, Alhamdulillah. Maximum is 15 days by the nights, right? So if a person goes past the 15th day, then you have to look back into the situation to see if she is in menses. So the age of menstruation is 9 years old, Hijri calendar almost. So وأقل الطهر بين ووقت بعد 9 سنين قمرية تقريبية. Write it down, So 9 years, right? There are 2 things. قمرية, lunar calendar. تقريبية, almost. So you can say it, 16 days short. So it starts 16 day short, right, of the 9th birthday. أقل الطهر بين الحيضتين 15 يوما بلياليها. It is very important. The minimum days between two menstruations is 15 days and nights exactly. So regardless of what the woman thinks, regardless of what she thinks, right, she must have 15 days of prayer without exception at all. No exception at all to this rule, right? So she must at all times have a minimum of 15 days and nights of prayer. She must, right? So that, for example, if a woman, she, and I asked this question before when I was in Tahrir, was I was experiencing it, right, whereby I see my menses, right, it was going on until the 12th day, right? So 12, 13 days it was going on. So it stopped around the 12th or 13th day. Okay. And towards the end of the menses, it was getting it was fading, and it was getting very light. So the heavy part was for the first few days. Then towards the end, maybe like the heavy part was perhaps about 7 days. Then for about 6 days, it was just very light menses. Hardly anything there, but you can still see it. It's hardly anything there, but you can still see it. Okay. Then within 12 days, right, from then, within 12 days from then, the heavy bleeding came back. Right, it's only 12 days, and the heavy bleeding came back. And even though the heavy bleeding seems it looks like menses a lot, it's really like menses because it's really heavy, it's crampy, is your thigh or achy and so on. It's really menses, right? But when I asked my teacher, because I said to her, what if I was mistaken about my earlier menses? What if the menses ended at the 7th day, and what I saw from day 8 to day 14 was actually not menses, but it was istihada? What if? And then if I counted those days, it will lead me to counting my current flow to be menses days. If I count backwards in that way, you understand what I'm saying? So like, let's say I say to my teacher, for example, and this is what happened. On the first day to the 7th day, right, there was heavy bleeding, right? From the 7th day, from the 8th day to the 14th day, I'm still within the 15th day mark, right? There was very light. It was very light bleeding. Okay, then it was clean. Let me use green for clean. It was or white, blue lah. Like blue is easier. It was clean for maybe 12 days. Okay, it was clean for 12 days. And then cramps and everything, and then blood came. Right, heavy flow blood came on the 13th day. Right, so this is from the first day. Let me just do it, make it easy. Right, the first day is here. So I had 12 days of clean, right, and then blood came back. So I actually asked my teacher, I said, you see, if I had counted my menses to end here, right, so here's 7th day, right, so 7 days in between. If I take 7, I plus it to 12, it will be 19, right? So if I had taken my purity to be here, right, I will have 19 days before my next menses comes. So I asked my teacher, can I count these days? Because it had gone on for a few cycles like this, to the point where I had to fast and pray with very heavy flow. Right. So I asked my teacher, like, could I count these earlier days that was tapering to the end of my previous menses? Could I count that one to be istihada? So I go into tuhur, I go into purity. When the moment I see the light color come, I go into purity. And then if my heavy days come at the end of my menses, my heavy days come on later on, I can count the heavy days to be menses from day 1, because it makes more sense. I thought it makes more sense, but she said no, you cannot do that, right? Because condition, you have to go by the conditions. The condition is that menses maximum is 15 days. If you did not exceed 15 days, you cannot call what is inside the 15 days istihada. You can't just say that. Istihada is only when it exceeds 15 days. If it does not exceed 15 days, it's not istihada. The whole thing is menses. Whole thing is menses, right? And then I said, then what about later on? Then she said, you cannot combine 2 cycles. You don't. The cycles are independent of each other. You don't combine them. So she said that you have 12 days, right? Then the blood came back. Then no matter what, 3 days you are on istihada. You are mar'a baqiyat ala tuhur. Mar'a baqiyat ala tuhur, meaning you have to continue the days to finish your 15th day of prayer. And if it is Ramadan fasting, then you can go into menses at that point. Otherwise, you cannot. You cannot just go into menses like that, because you say, oh, but it's heavy and it's crampy and it's difficult. And I don't think this is istihada. This is menses. No matter what. Right, because the conditions are fulfilled for the previous menses, so you kind of like close your case for the previous menses. Right, case is closed. I say case closed here. Right, you don't continue the case of the previous menses into your next menses. No. Right, so mashallah, and so this is what I'm saying. Right, so for 15 days, it had to be 15 days of minimum clean. I have no exception in this situation. All right, alhamdulillah. Let me continue. It is, let me see here. Okay. Okay, so it is prohibited for people who are having menstruation, all that is prohibited for those who are on major ritual impurity, such as so later we'll go into what is haram, such as going into the mosque, or sitting in the mosque, or having any form of having or touching the mushaf, or reciting of the mushaf, and so on. It's all impermissible. Let me just continue read some stuff from my notes. Allahumma salli Muhammad. Right, so the minimum message is 24 hours, right, whether it is continuous or whether it's broken off over 15 days. So if a woman, like, understand this, if a woman had her menses, right, on from the first day, right, all the way to the 15th day, right, if she every day she checks, she will only have a flow of 2 hours per day. Every day 2 hours, then it becomes white, then it comes back, then it becomes white, then it comes back, then it becomes white. Right, so every day has 2 hours for 15 days. Altogether, she is having 30 days, or 30 hours, 30 hours of flow. Yes, menses. Alright, if every day she notices she's getting 1 hour, 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 every day. So she's 1 hour flow, then it becomes white. It cuts off, becomes white. Then the next day, the same time at 2 o'clock, another hour of flow. And then it becomes white. And every day this thing happen. Altogether, after 15 days, she gets 15 hours of flow that's not menses. It's not menses, she's illness. And probably there's an illness going on in her. If that is going on with her. Alright, so it could be cut off like that in that way, or it could be continuous, 24 hours, or cut off. So it could be that the first few days maybe like 10 hours of flow, then it cut off. Then on the 10th day it came back. And then she had like another 10 more hours of flow, right? And then now there's 20 hours of flow. Okay, menses. No, 20 hours haven't yet. Haven't yet. Then what's that? 20, not yet, Okay, then maybe on the 12th day, she had 5 more hours of flow, 25 hours. Okay, menses. Right, comes into menses. Okay, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Right, so the blood can be continuous, or it can be cutting off here and there. Alright, okay, alright. So it is prohibited for those who are in menses. What is prohibited for those who are in impurity, such as يحرم به ما يحرم بالجنابة. Right, so whatever is haram for those in janaba is haram for those in menses, counting also, including in that, going through the masjid. If she fears that she will dirty the masjid. So what's the meaning of going through murur? Right, so murur al masjid, right, murur means to come in through a door, right, come in through a door, right, and to come out through another door. That is called murur. Right, taraddud, it means to go in through a door and come out the same door. That one is impermissible. She's not allowed to do that. Right, she's only allowed to go through the masjid all the way through. That is permissible for her to do. Right, so like for example, we have like Masjid Darul Aman. Masjid Darul Aman, the classrooms are on the other side of the musalla. If you've seen it, right? The classrooms are on the other side of the musalla. So a woman is able to come up the staircase in the Masjid Darul Aman, and she can walk through the musalla and come out the other side to get to the classroom. Permissible for her to do that. It is permissible as long as she is feels safe from not dirtying the masjid with her blood, which usually most women, you will feel safe about that. You won't be going around dripping, right? You probably will feel safe that your blood is not going to drip on the masjid, inshallah. Okay, like Masjid Khalid. Okay, Masjid Khalid, the old one, right? Now it's beginning with the old one. There is a door at the front of the musalla, and there's a door that brings you to the toilet, right? The door that is in front of the musalla and the door that brings you to the toilet. Okay, you can walk through. If you're going to do a walkthrough, you can walk through. Of course, you don't have to. You can go to the other way, right? But if you need to walk through, you can from that door walk through to the other door, right? So you can do a walk through. That's called murur. So murur, it is permissible if you don't fear that you are going to dirty the masjid. But if you fear you're going to dirty the masjid, then it's not permissible, right, to walk through the masjid. Okay, it is also prohibited for her to fast and be divorced, right? So it's haram for the one on menses to fast. However, for both these cases about divorce and fast, if the blood had cut off, only for these cases, if the blood had cut off, right, the blood had cut off already, she can begin the fast and she can be divorced. She can be divorced. So, for example, the blood has cut off, and before, so you see the blood cut off, right, but haven't but have not bathed the wajib bath, right? The blood had cut off, but you have not bathed the wajib bath. 12:15 right, finish. Okay, the blood had not cut off. The blood had cut off, but you have not bathed the wajib bath, right? She can begin her fast. We mentioned this before in the Ramadan chapter, right? That if she wakes up in the morning before sahur, right, or before subuh, before the adhan subuh, she says, oh, she's clean. Right? She checks the blood has cut off, she's clean. She can begin the fast. She can go and take her sahur, right, without taking the bath yet, right? And then she can do the bath after azan of subuh. She's allowed to take the bath after azan subuh. She can begin the fast already, even if she has not taken the bath yet. Same thing about being divorced, which is a bit strange, but it's possible. If someone is on a mens, it's haram for her husband to divorce her. But if, for example, I mean, Allahu Alam, maybe the husband is planning to divorce her, I don't know. But it could be that she comes out and she'll say, oh, I'm clean already. Then before she goes to take the bath, the husband says, oh, you're divorced. I mean, if that ever happens to a person, sah. I mean, even if he divorces her in her menses, sah also. It's just that whether he's sinful or not. Right? So if he divorces her in her menses, he's sinful. The divorce is sah. The divorce is valid. But he's just being sinful in divorcing her in her menses. However, if he divorces her after her menses, before she takes the bath, it's not sinful. So if he's like, he can't wait to divorce her, for example, like some situation, can't wait to divorce her. Right? So then when he realizes that she's now off her menses, before she even takes the bath, he's like, oh, I divorce you. Right? Is he sinful? No. There's no sin in doing that, because she's already finished, she's clean from her menses. Alright, also prohibitive intimacy. And what is intimacy? Right, intimacy, it is to, let me see the Arabic here. Al-istimta' bima baina surah wa rukbah. So intimacy, so of course intercourse is haram. Intercourse during menses is haram. These are all additional things that is haram on a woman on her menses. There is more than those who are on junub. Those who are in junub is we have already mentioned them. This is all extra stuff. So going to the masjid, to being afraid that you might enter the masjid, fasting. The one in junub can fast, right? If you wake up in the morning, you're in junub, you can fast, right? Fasting, being divorced, having intimacy, right? So having sexual intercourse is haram for a woman having menses, and having intimacy, meaning, right? Should put something, but istimta, that means enjoyment. Right? Istimta means to enjoy, right? Or you will say it in our language, foreplay. Right? So foreplay between the pusat, right? Between the navel and the knee. Right? So what does it mean by istimta? Istimta, it means a nazar, right? To look, right? Or to touch, right? Skin to skin. Right, so a woman on her menses, between her navel and her knee, she's not to expose these parts to her husband, and she's not to allow for him to touch these parts, skin to skin. Right, so that is what is called istimta. Right, that is called to enjoy between the navel and the knee. Right, so she needs to keep it covered. Right, keep it covered and keep it away. Right, from him, and he needs to know also if she's on her menses, then he does not touch her. If there's a cloth in between, can. There's a cloth in between, permissible. right? Yeah, inshallah. Okay, it is obligatory on her to make up fasting but not prayer, because it's too difficult to make up a prayer when you're on menses. But for fasting, yes, wajib for you to make up your fast. I'm going to speak something about this, about the prayer. Right, if you got your menses, so menses, the prayers that are connected, right, Zuhur, right, connected to Asar, right, Maghrib connected to Isha. Okay, they're connected. So if you are clean, let me use my blue again. If you are clean here at Asar time, right, even if you saw throughout Zohor you had your menses, even coming into Asar you still had menses, but then towards the end of Asar you saw you are clean, you must qada Zohor. You must pray Asar and qada Zohor. Same thing for Aisha, because the prayers are paired up. They're paired up prayers. So if you became clean at the end of Isha, right before Subuh became clean, so Isha is compulsory on you as well as Maghrib. Maghrib is also compulsory on you. Okay? About this, so this is when the menses comes to an end. How about when menses comes at the beginning? Right? So if you are in prayer timing, right, if you had enough time to prepare for the prayer and you did not pray and then menses came to you, then that prayer becomes a debt on you. You have to utang that prayer. That prayer, you have to call out that prayer. It means you basically owe that prayer, right? So that, for example, Zohor right now is 1:13. Okay, 1:13 Zohor, right? At 1 in 5 minutes, then I say so around 1:20 around there. You would go and take your wudu to check. You see you got your menses, right? So you could have prayed Zohor, right, from the beginning of the time. You could have prayed, but you didn't because you were doing something else. Right, so that Zuhur becomes wajib on you to qada. Right, that Zuhur becomes wajib on you to qada. How about when the menses ends? So if your menses ends, right, at the end of Asar time, enough to say the takbir, enough to say the takbir at the end of Asar, then Asar becomes compulsory on you. So that now Asar time is, for example, 4:36, right? So at 4:35, you go to the bathroom, then you see, you are clean at 4:35. Is Asar compulsory on you? Yes. Asar is compulsory on you together with Zuhur is compulsory on you. You have to qada the prayers, inshallah. Okay. Chapter Woman on Istihada. Let me continue. Okay, Woman on Istihada. فصل والمستحاضة تغسل فرجها ثم تحشوه إلا إذا أحرقها الدم أو كان صائمة، فإن لم يكفها تعصب بخرقة ثم تتوضأ أو تتيمم في الوقت وتبادر بالصلاة، وإن أخرت لغير مصلحة الصلاة استأنف. ما شاء الله. Right, so for woman on istihada, I'm going to go through the rulings of istihada, inshallah. Right, for a woman on istihada, what must she do? Right, she must wash for every prayer after the coming in of the prayer timing. He has to be with the coming in of the prayer timing. With every prayer, she must istinja. Right, she must wash her private parts, istinja. She must block it. It's called tahshu. Hashu meaning that she puts a cotton into her private parts. And this is considered that she's istihada, whereby the flow is continuous. There's no stop in the flow. And what does it mean that there's no stop in the flow? What is meant by that is that there is no that you're not confident that nothing will come out as you pray. Right? So like sometimes you have discharge, a brown discharge, right? You know that sometimes nothing will come out of you until you urinate. Sometimes you know it. It's so little. It's not gonna come out while you go and pray and everything. It's not gonna come out. So that kind of situation, you are not actually in istihada. You are not in istihada, right? Because you're not continuously flowing. Right? So if if I go to the toilet right now, and I urinate and I see, okay, there's gonna be a brown discharge, okay, like a light brown discharge. It only happens when I urinate. Does not happen rest of the time. So you put a liner there and you can go to the whole day, 24 hours. You can go to the whole day and you can check yourself again thereafter, and you can see that nothing is dry, completely dry after the entire day. That means you're not in istihada. It's not istihada. Because you're not flowing. Right? So the whole thing is that you're flowing. There's a hashu thing there. The hashu is to block any flow from coming out. Right? So if you know that you take your wudu now, you saw you have brown discharge, you go and take a wudu, right? You're thinking, you're not sure, how long this wudu can be kept, because it could very well be you get up, you walk out of the bathroom, and the flow comes, right? So you're not confident that you're not confident that there'll be no flow, and you're not confident, and that is called istihada, because at any moment in time, any point in time, there can be something coming out of you. So you're not confident, right? So you will niyat istibaha fardis salah, as you mentioned earlier on in this class, and you place something to block it. So either in our time, you can use a tampon, right, to block it. You can use a piece of cotton to put it inside, or tissue to put it inside and block it. But try not to put something too small, because you get lost inside. And don't put something too small. But something to block it. You can use a menstrual cup, right, if you would able to do so. However, if a person is is a virgin, non-married woman, then she doesn't have to do it, right? Because it can be painful for non-married women, right? Because of how tight that area is for them, right? So it can be very uncomfortable and very painful, right? For them, they're not allowed. They're not don't have to actually do the hashu of putting something in. All they have to do is the ta'assub. Ta'assub is to put a pad. And ta'assub means pad. And they put bandage. They put bandage pula. Okay, go and feedback to the translation. Right, ta'assub is not really bandage, but it's like a pad. Okay, to put padding, to prevent the blood from going elsewhere. It's more of to contain the najis, right? So not bandage, but pad. I have to put a pad there. Okay, so for a woman who is a virgin, non-married, right, or fasting, right, fasting, or she is not married, right, then she does not have to stuff that place or block it with something, because she's unable to, right? So, if you put something in your vagina when you're fasting, it will nullify your fast, so you're not allowed to do that. So just put a pad, right, to carry the blood, right? So if she feels the heat by the presence of the blood, or she is fasting, so if she feels that, by blocking that area, it's getting very hot and getting very uncomfortable, right? Because there's so much blood coming out, right? Or if she's a virgin, she's very uncomfortable putting something inside of her, right? Or she's fasting, she doesn't have to do it, right? What she has to do is just to put a pad large enough to hold the bleeding, right? And then just to hold the bleeding lah, to hold the bleeding. Then she performs wudu or tayammum at the prayer timing, and immediately perform the prayer. She should not delay her prayer unless for issues to do with the prayer, like for example covering the awrat, finding the qibla, finding your siwak and so on, or waiting for jama'ah also counted. Waiting for jama'ah and so on does not nullify her wudu. However, if she just waste time, check her phone, talk to people, she was eating for a while, and she wasted time in between her wudu and her prayer, right, then she has to start all over again, in doing this purification. She must restart the entire thing all over again. Okay, it's obligatory upon her to renew her ritual purity and replace her pads for every single obligatory prayer. So every single worship prayer, she must redo the entire thing. Istinja, put the pad or hashu, put inside, do the wudu all over again, and then pray, right, all over again. So istihada is meant to push women to cure themselves, because it's very troublesome. Istihada, you're not supposed to stay in that state, right? So similarly for istihada women, for women with urinal issues, incontinence, or continuous madi and wadi, it's possible for a woman to have continuous discharge without end, to continuous discharge. And it happened to me also when I was in Tarim. That I was a period of time whereby my discharge, I could just finish istinja and just finish my wudu, and then come out and have discharge flowing a lot from myself, right? And I know it's not water that the privates will hold on to. This a type of water that the privates hold on to and let go. It's not that one. It's discharge, a lot of it coming out all the time. So what's the ruling on me? It will be that I, as if I'm on istihada, I'm someone da'im al hadas, they're always having hadas. Okay, and that is the about istihada. Okay, so inshallah, Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, definition of istihada, write it down. This is istihada. It is blood that comes from the nearest part of the womb, that means the bottom of the womb, not in the time of menses. and usually due to an illness. Usually due to an illness. Okay, that is istihada. Okay. Right, if istihada is very light, it's enough to just put a liner. It's enough. As long as you can carry the najis, don't have to put anything into the vagina, right? To stop it from, right? No. Okay. Alright. Okay, finish istihada. Inshallah next week we will continue into nifas. I will go into the different situations of istihada after we do nifas. So learn nifas first, then we'll do the different situations of istihada, different types, together with nifas. Okay, inshallah. Okay, barakallahu fikum. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.